This channel officially has a Discord server. Feel free to join. Link in the description.
Hello everyone, this is Tentalk, the podcast about the manga and anime Tenkaichi. Now, when I initially started recording this episode, I had originally done what I had done with round 1 and what I had sort of been doing with the Macho Tyson series, and that's sort of beat by beat going through what happens, what I think about it, etc, etc. But, honestly, sort of starting to record it, I realized that I don't think that's a very interesting format to listen to, and I don't think it's very good for this podcast, because at the end of the day, if you want a play-by-play of what happens in the manga, read it yourself. You don't need me. You don't need me, just some guy going around talking about, this happens and then this happens. You can just read it for yourself. And so I think a more interesting approach, at least this time, and let me know if you want me to change it, is for me to reread the manga again, because I've read this round before, and sort of just give you my thoughts on it, sort of give you my thoughts on the backstory, sort of like what I do with Record of Ragnarok. Let me know if you guys like that change, if you want me to change it back to the old way, but I sort of prefer this new way. Sort of, it's what I'm comfortable with, and it's sort of, I don't know, it feels less repetitive, because if you're listening to this, you probably already read the round, and you don't need me to tell you what happens because you already know. Man, if the first fight was awesome, and it was awesome, then this fight is downright incredible. I absolutely loved this fight. I know we're only 2 rounds into the series, but it's definitely better than round 1, so I guess it's my favorite, at least so far. Something I noticed in this fight was that Toda got a lot more of an introduction. He sort of was the one that was set up, sort of like how Hondo was. They set the whole story up around them, and then they got introduced, and then, it was like, oh, and also their opponent is this person coming in, by the way. And that was kind of it. That was kind of it for the Kotaro introduction. She sort of just got like, oh, by the way, here she is coming in from the West Wing. And, Toda got a lot more screen time. Something I really noticed about this was, at first, when they introduced Toda, they did the whole, he's an old man, he's an old blind man, he can't do anything. But of course, as manga readers, we're like, yeah, we know he's going to be a badass. And he was. But even after he proved himself to be a badass by cutting that dude apart and throwing his head into the ring during his introduction, people were like, yeah, but he's still just an old man. It's like, bro, were you not paying attention? Were we looking at 2 different arenas? Like, no, this guy is legit. And so it was a little weird to see people constantly try to downplay him, even after we had seen what he was capable of. Kotaro is probably my favorite fighter so far. She really is just super, super cool. I'm really a fan of hers. I like her sort of badass nature, the muscular build, which is rare to see on female characters. Usually it's the male characters that are all ripped and shredded, but I like seeing it on female characters every once in a while. It's new, it's different. It's sort of a different form of what is traditionally considered attractive. I think it's beautiful. I think it's awesome. I loved it. The first kind of oh shit moment in this fight for me was the clap. The clap that Kotaro did to sort of burst Toda's eardrums when she sort of realized, oh, this guy isn't just a regular blind guy. She took away one of his other senses, which I thought was really clever and really cool, but obviously the fight couldn't have ended that soon, so, it was quickly countered by Toda's ability that was described with an incredibly beautiful picture of just like sort of almost a tree of tentacles and eyeballs, very Junji Ito sort of looking panel that I absolutely loved. And they explained it with Toda's backstory with his grandson, Zen. Now, comparing the backstories, I remember when I first read it, I really thought that Kotaro's backstory compared to Toda's was lacking, but rereading it, I really enjoyed Kotaro's more. I loved sort of the victim of all of the abuse held by her clan, sort of turning the tables and her making her former abusers the victims. I love a good revenge story. I love a good revenge story, and I think this one played it out extremely well, very, very well, and I thought was really cool, and tying it back to Kotaro's introduction with the weird dog guy who was the fifth leader of the clan, and we were like, okay, well, why are we seeing him? I remember thinking that at first, why are we seeing this guy when he's not even fighting? But having it play into her backstory, I thought was really, 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 really clever. And Kotaro using the drugs to make that happen, and then her using them during her fight, and it conjured some weird, really human centipede body horror looking panel that was really creepy, but also kind of really cool, and I absolutely loved it. Now, I talked about sort of the clap moment at the beginning, where of the fight, where she clapped and burst Toda's eardrums. What I really liked about this fight was that there were a lot of highlights. There were a lot of moments that maybe kind of taken aback, kind of shook me a little bit, and I like that. I like when a fight isn't traditional. It's not easy to predict. I like when things bounce off the wall. I like when crazy moments happen, like spots. If you're a wrestling fan, you know spots in a match. I love the spots in this match. Kotaro ripping off one of Toda's ears. Toda, even when it seemed like he was losing the match, chaining them together so she couldn't really use the entire arena to her advantage, so he could focus on a certain area and become stronger with that. Kotaro countering the chaining them together by swinging Toda into a tree, but then Toda countering that by using the tree as leverage. It was just incredible, and Toda had incredible endurance as well, because very early on in the match they mentioned that he had his ribs broken, that he was really damaged, and he took a hell of a beating. I would say so far this guy probably is the guy that impressed me the most with his endurance. Now, let's talk about the very end of the fight. I love it when just before we see a character die, we sort of see them in the afterlife. Just before we see the character's body or the aftermath of the fight, we see the character and the afterlife not really realizing what happened. And it's like, where am I sort of now? I was just fighting, where am I now? And I thought it was really interesting and pretty sad also that we saw Toda sort of walk away from Zen. He finally had his vision back and his hearing back, and he saw Zen. He saw his grandson that he loved very much, but ultimately figured that the battlefield was for him. Like, that was his place. So he walked away from his grandson, thanking him for letting him see him again, and just sort of walked towards the battlefield because that's where he felt like he belonged. And that was something that was sad, but also poetic and beautiful in a way. And man, the end of this fight, having Kotaro holding the heart of Toda, literally just punching through his torso, holding his heart, was so brutal and vicious, and I loved it. I love those theatrical, gory endings. So yeah, round 2 was an incredible round. I can't wait to see it get animated. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, I know round 3 is sort of the weakest round in the series, and I even remember reading it and being kind of disappointed, even though there was a cool moment that I do want to talk about. But yeah, I really was enjoying this fight. I really did enjoy this fight. I think the authors and the artists all did an absolutely incredible job. I want to know what you guys think about this fight in the comments below. Please let me know. I read all the comments, so yeah, thank you so much for listening.